So thanks everyone for joining today's virtual meetup, virtual Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust meetup. We have a conversation today about how blockchain and smart contracts and decentralized systems are revolutionizing legal services. And with that, I'll hand it over to our speakers. So thanks, Kyle and John.
Hey, thanks, David. Welcome, everybody. My name's Baba John. I'm here to present this class on blockchain, smart contracts, and decentralized systems revolutionizing the legal industry. Lex.Clinic is a U.S. public legal education charity, and Ixion is a multi-jurisdictional law firm. I am a third-year law student at Thurgood Marshall in Houston, Texas, and I just secured an externship with Ixion, and I've been working with Lex.Clinic for over a year now. All of us are focused on the emergent field of legal engineering, which is arguably the evolution of practicing law in the information age. Kyle Smith founded Lex.Clinic and is a co-founder of Ixion. He was born in the USA and went to law school at Canada Western Law. Ixion is a brand new concept combining law, engineering, and management, which is located in the special economic zone of Prospera on the Caribbean island of Roatan in Honduras. And so I actually did my international law final paper on Prospera, which is a pretty interesting legal situation in itself. And so I'm really grateful to be a part of the movement that is the new economy, new earth. So I also want to thank Linux, which I have always turned my old computers into Ubuntu machines. When the PCs crash, I install Linux and give it another couple of years. I love Linux, so thank you. It's really awesome to be on this call with you, everybody with Linux. So here's a summary of the web, which many hopefully we got some students on the call from the law school. So some of this will be like very rudimentary caveman, and I apologize if it's overly simple, but we're trying to teach new people, new lawyers in the space, as well as get people informed on what's going on. So Web 1, obviously the internet started, everybody now had access to information in a new way, and that is the read phase. And Web 2 was when social media, Facebook, Twitter, when they came out, that was Web 2. And so that is, right. And Web 3 is happening right now. And this is the own phase and is based on the blockchain. The blockchain was made famous through the emergence of Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is not necessarily the big innovation. It's what's under the hood of Bitcoin, which is called the blockchain. And so this is really important for law because basically this entails property rights. This the first step of the movement was like, okay, well, it made us think about what is money. And now, we're thinking what is property? Because we got the money part, we got the Bitcoin's money, new kind of money. But do we understand it's got property aspects attached to it too? So before I was a law student, I was an entrepreneur. I created one of the first benefit corps in the world. I kind of specialize in emergent business structures. And so I'm all over the DAO conversation and use my company to help startups and other businesses that had public benefit to get research from universities. So I worked with my alma mater, which is research, the Timberland Research Institute, SMU in Dallas. I've worked with UNT and also Presidio Graduate School in California. And what I would do is take businesses that need help, get them some resources. And so with that, continuing with that spirit, I've begun to work with my current school and Lex.Clinic and Ixion. So, how did I get here? Basically, I I I had an idea. I'm like, okay, Bitcoin started happening, blockchain started happening, and I happen to have a proficiency in sustainable design. I have a permaculture certification and won a hackathon making a smart dumpster. And it tells you when it's full, saves companies money. And so what we do, we created a token and tried to get in on the ICO action. Back in the day, companies were getting instant liquidity with these coin offerings, which is like a alternative to like a private IPO. And so, I threw it in a local accelerator called Tech Wildcatters. They gave us a valuation of a couple 100,000, and I was really excited, like, oh my God, I'm about to be, a tech CEO in the same vein as Zuckerberg or somebody like that. So I was really excited. But what happened, we started hitting uh, walls around the legalities of this token. So it seemed real exciting, and then we got a reality check of being in American jurisdiction, and the SEC has rules, securities laws around these tokens. So I started I started having to put the energy and the resources away from minimizing waste and creating economics and putting our local resources where they want to go and overall resourcery, and started having to think about how not to go to jail doing it. So that's pretty much the story that COVID hit, and that was just like too many resources that we needed to do it legally with the SEC. I mean, just to get in the door with them, I think it was like 100 grand for their, it was like a Reg D or something. I'd have to look at the docs, but it's been many years. But the bottom line is the barrier to entry was that we needed a lot of money to play with the token the legal way, and the lawyers just weren't like, hey, let's find a way, let's find a creative way, like maybe some kind of a exemption, because it's a for benefit corp. Maybe we could have gotten a charitable exemption or something, but nobody was thinking like that. So I decided to go to law school so I could solve the world's problems and create a business path for tokenized Web3 project. So I am now at 3L, and I have taken business associations, I've taken contracts, I've taken securities law. I mean, I've had to take all these things just to do anything in this space. And so I'm coming out of the cave, and I'm at the end of my last year. And so we're ramping up we're ramping up the clinic aspect, and I actually was able to I first registered as a student org inside of the law school, and got different officers, and I put all that together, but all the officers graduated a semester early, and this basically turned into an externship, and I'm actually the first one to do it. So when I talked to the securities professor at the school, and this is what she said. She said, there's a big void that needs filling, and we're going to have to create a hybrid. So we're going to have to figure out how to go within some kind of a regulatory framework where some control is loosely had, but also we don't want to give up the spirit of we don't want to give up the spirit of Bitcoin. We don't want to give up the spirit of crypto. Do you want to say something, Kyle? Oh, okay. So basically we need to create a hybrid. And how are we going to create a hybrid? Well, I mean, basically lawyers, I didn't know this, nobody had ever talked to me or articulated it this way, but lawyers make the law, you know, and they make the law by writing about it, which is kind of how Bitcoin started. Bitcoin started with a white paper, right? So I didn't realize that lawyers had such a impact just because I didn't care. So now I care. But yeah, so basically lawyers can actually have the codes to pulling the levers of society. So if you want to get something done, you need some lawyers. So, I was like, okay, how are we training up the lawyers? Because it's an arms race, pretty much. Do you want the government's Bitcoin, or do you want, the entrepreneurial Bitcoin of local businesses? I mean, that's pretty much where we're at. Is it going to be a pyramid, or is it going to be a circle? And so you can't really do Bitcoin blockchain stuff in the spirit of it in a way that's a pyramid, but sometimes that's the project necessitates it. So there's different kinds of chains, there's different kinds of tokens, and there's different universities that are starting to study this stuff. So you can see Harvard, Stanford, and Yale here. So of course I'm like, well, why not? They're good. Marshall, where I'm at. So another a lot of people refer to this space as crypto. And so just in case there's any newbies here, I just wanted to say cryptography is just coded communication. This is a practice and study of techniques for secure communication in the presence of adversarial behavior. Remember the secret decoder ring they put at the bottom of the cereal box? That's crypto. So I know some people go, "Oh, crypto is a scam," and it's just like, we need crypto in order to have privacy. We deploy our armies, they have cryptographic radios so they can talk to each other without the bad guy hearing what they're saying. So does that mean that their radio's a scam? Nope. It just means that they figured out how to code the communication. And so this has different issues that come into play, and privacy, debt, data ownership, all this stuff. And to really get
Actually,
me,
Bob, if I can jump in real quick with a little bit extra,
yeah,
there's yeah. So trustless environment. That's um, a lot of that's our common phrase in this space, trustless,
mm,
and it's the absence of having to use trust thinking at all. At least the way I perceive it. So that's perfect system is trustless is not nothing that requires zero trust. But one of the reasons I believe people get bamboozled is that that's just one layer of the stack, the cryptographic layer, and then the layer that's still people doing financial relationships with each other that still requires trust. So it's not like crypto is makes the entire thing trustless, but it makes the settlement layer so you can't transact twice. That is trustless, and that's really that was well the Bitcoin white paper. That's what that solved there. That the Byzantine generals problem. All right, back to you.
cool. Thank you, Kyle. It's been awesome to learn from Kyle. He's very knowledgeable. He will be taking the mic here shortly. So as an entrepreneur, the book that got me on the track of this space is The Starfish and the Spider, which goes into how basically a spider, you can cut the head off a spider and it's dead. But if you cut the arm off a starfish, it grows another one. So I was like, this got me thinking about the difference between a circle and a pyramid, basically. And this is part of the conversation of why we want this technology and need this technology. And companies like Amazon just apply the concepts of leaderless organizations and created this store that, you know, disrupted how we sell goods and made the guy billions of dollars. So there's all kinds of opportunity in the space to disrupt every kind of industry there is. And of course, a lot of these are entrenched and have lobbied and set up local laws. And so we got the local laws, we got the state laws, we got the federal laws, we got international laws, all working, and many of them are working for pyramids. And so we have built a bunch of circles, and we're like, hey, we want circles. And they're like, no, well, you need to pay $100,000 to the SEC to have a circle without going to jail. Otherwise, pyramids it is. Like, so there's just got to be a way, since I'm sure we're all freedom lovers here, and it is in the interest of everyone to allow for economics and prosperity to occur. We need to figure out a happy medium. And this is also a blue ocean strategy, which is another famous book about finding a market that's so vast you don't have to compete anymore. You know, so I like to think in my altruistic heart that it's better to collaborate than to compete. So, you know, think Dolphin Tank instead of Shark Tank, you know. So if you get into a market that's so huge and the opportunity is so vast, then you can, you know, we can just like be dolphins swimming together instead of you know, carnivorous, blood-soaked shark economy. So I highly recommend that book. So Kyle had me cross out the decentralized applications because distributed is a better word. So the Linux trust, this is just a recommendation. Maybe you guys can change your name to distributed. That was
Yeah,
a joke.
and to get a little more into that, so one of the reasons I'm preferring distributed is if we think about it, that's what we're wanting to do with the network structure and having the routers distributed physically around the world. So that's the real point. The sequencers, validators, you know, this what the routers are actually doing here on these chains. But also because the way I see legal engineering is that it thinks of law starting with the laws of physics, and so all four fundamental laws of physics use a center: electromagnetism, strong, weak, and gravity, obviously. So that's why. So it's really more about polycentric rather than decentralized. Just yeah, for me, it's counterproductive to constantly try to think without some centralizing forces. It's more important to not think of a single gravity well. All right, back to you, Bella.
Thank you. So yeah, so you know, Web 2 used apps. So you know, Web 3 uses dApps. And whether they're decentralized or distributed, the bottom line is they are ran most likely on a blockchain or a P2P network of computers instead of just one computer. So, you know, like this emergent space is changing the internet to Web3. What comes with Web3? It comes with new kinds of apps that instead of logging in with your social media login, you log in with your wallet, which is hold your tokens. And so this gets into, you know, if you have a business, if you want a new digital business on Web3, are you going to use a token? What kind of a token? And that has to be designed. So this is a part of the business plan, and this is actually the lion's share of what lawyers are having to do for businesses, especially in America. And it always breaks my heart when I see some awesome, you know, startup with an awesome idea, and they think, like I did back in the day, that they're going to be able to just do, you know, use the tech and do what's best for them, because they're going to need a legal team. to get not just to figure out how to deal with the SEC or whatnot, but just to figure out the tokenomics is a legal team that has some engineering um, uh, capabilities, you know. So this is a whole new science, and it's the lion's share of a lot of the work that businesses need help with. It's not everything, but it's a rabbit hole, and it's kind of a fun rabbit hole because it's really now we can make value. So I made my first token on the Bitcoin chain probably 10 years ago, you know, just for fun. And once I realized, oh my God, anybody can make a Bitcoin, you know, type of, you know, it just blew my mind. And but what am I allowed to do with it? So it's like, oh, it's a utility. It's not even money. It's just a utility to run the software. You know, people use that as a strategy to avoid securities laws. But you know, like every time I find a way, you know, it's not safe necessarily. And by safe I mean is um you know, they're making examples of people out there that are just trying to figure out how to make their business work. So
And
this,
Baba, just real quick,
yeah,
also to add, one of the things is that right now, this is the lion's share of work that legal engineers are doing, especially so the lawyers that are proficient in uh, Solidity and other programming languages. But already AI is taking more and more time, and these aren't mutually exclusive. So future slides will show how these are closely related. But before smart contracts even existed, that there was also legal engineering work. So yeah, over time, legal engineering has been around, I'd say at least 70 years. Very few of us. It's now only starting to grow. But yeah, over the decades, the profession has focused on different aspects of this very fledgling mechanization of law. All right, back to you.
yeah, I like the way that you put that. We're mechanizing. We're mechanizing businesses. Would you say like, or we're mechanizing?
Well, that's what we'll go into. Yeah, with down the line with these slides is we're talking about it as governance, but these DAOs, they're businesses, they're organizations. So sometimes they're more like clubs and oftentimes so they're more like businesses and such. But the common denominator, including when they act like governments occasionally, because it is a separate settlement financial layer, is governance at its core between people and then more agentic entities or joining the club as well. So people and robots, really machines, as time goes by.
All right, so we got DAOs as a result of all this. What is a DAO? DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization. You know, this is basically the architecture we're looking at for a new digital company. Okay, you're going to need a wallet, and instead it used to be a bank, right? Now you need not you're going to have smart contracts. It used to be paper contracts. It used to be a paper ledger. Now it's a digital ledger, you know. And we always voted and did things like that with our companies, but now we can use the tokens that are held in the wallet to do things, to do governance. So governance is an aspect of it, and you know, the rules and the policies and the code all go into the consensus mechanism for voting and all this stuff. So it's a new kind of digital company, and it's super exciting, and I would not ignore this. So why do we want smart contract lawyers? Why do we want smart contracts instead of our paper contract? Well, it's autonomous, trustless, cost effective, faster, and more accurate. So assuming it's a good contract. So obviously there are contracts that have been infiltrated or busted. And so it's a best practice once you have a contract, if you're not using one that's already been proven out, like to get some kind of a third-party audit before deploying that contract. So the blockchain, I know a lot of people have stumbled over this for a long time, and I think of it as artificial DNA. I mean, that's the simplest way I can put it. It's artificial DNA. So our DNA, there's things in our code and our own bodies that go back all the way to the beginning. And the blockchain is an artificial DNA, if you ask me. So Bitcoin is a ledger, all computation. Oh, what's my note here? Bitcoin is a ledger, all computation possible is a general. I put my note. Kyle, you're gonna have to save me here because I don't know what.
I think that's the other slide, the next slide.
Oh, okay.
We started conceptualizing.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, that
okay.
one right there.
That's mixed up.
And actually,
Okay.
this slide, we don't even need this slide. So
We don't need
that's-
this slide?
no, no.
Okay, okay.
All right. So this is, yeah, so I'll jump in here for this one.
All
So this is kind of a concept we have had in the back of our minds for a bit, but for this presentation, we've decided we have to make it into a slide for the first time. So hopefully it's kind of clear, but throughput, that's a big deal now on blockchain. Solana has really great throughput. There's a Ethereum L2, a few of them that are now attempting to have really great throughput. That's related to latency. I'm sure some of the devs here know about it, but you're only really going to have a good point of sale transactional experience if you have sufficient throughput, as well as video gaming experiences and all that. Hyperledger is great at throughput. Oh, above it, yeah, okay, yeah. What is the SUI in the diagram? SUI, what does SUI stand for? Whoever asked that question.
Sui juris.
SUI blockchain. Oh yeah, I don't know. Yeah, if we have time for questions, maybe we can talk about that kind of. Yeah, Libre. Yeah, Jim, I just don't have that. We can't put all chains on here, so this is a very, very simplified. And the point here, though, is that how proof of work relates to chain of title. So that's a legal concept, chain of title. So the most simple ledger possible to say who owns what, and that's it. This person owns this. No more details. But in property law, it's actually a bundle of rights and obligations. That's what makes up property. And so, for instance, if there's sui generis, Baba mentioned that that's a new kind of property. And so what we look at is what are the rights, what are the obligations that these parties, these people have made in convention with each other over history. And then that's how we understand this new kind of property type. And so I've been finding that really useful for these frontier types of property, digital properties. And I'll even think about new kinds of sovereignty, sui generis. But in any case, there still is that basic information concept of beneficial being a lot of detail, and then chain of title being the bare minimum to know this person knows this, not in what way their rights and their obligations are, just the bare bones. And so Bitcoin is really great at that, the chain of title. And so proof of work, the most costly hardware, but that's a centralizing force because it's expensive to have hardware and such. That goes there. And then we've got proof of stake as well as proof of history. And so proof of stake, it can be socially gamed, same as proof of history, but Solana only has one sequencer anyway. So they have different priorities. The world computer, that's referencing that these ones are Turing complete. And so I'm relating beneficial ownership to world computer / Turing complete, and then just a straight up ledger or just like SQL distributed database without instructions is the chain of title. So this is an example of legal engineering because we're taking computer science concepts, we're taking law concepts, and we're figuring out when they relate to each other. So yeah, so that's the point of the slide. And of course, yeah, we can go in far more detail here. But for the interest of time, if we have questions later, we can delve in a little bit more.
Cool. Yeah, so I wanted to go back up to this DAO slide just to say that the clinic is a DAO. The Lex.Clinic is a DAO, and we're using HATS protocol, which Kyle will go into. How did I find Lex.Clinic. How did I find Kyle? Well, basically, I got on the Dow train and have actually created multiple different types of DAOs using things like Moloch and Gnosis Chain. And there's a group of legal engineering lawyers and people interested in the space that have formed up a legal engineering guild called LexDAO. So lexdao.org, has a program where you can earn NFTs and membership by working pro bono on different projects. And I got plugged into Lex.Clinic because of my project with Thurgood Marshall School of Law. So LexDAO connected me. And so Lex.Clinic was informally a result of I mean, Kyle can go into the connect there, but bottom line, they connected me with an externship with Ixion. And what we want to do is offer to other students, if there's any students on the call, a half-day project of doing legal research on electronic signatures, which are pertinent to understand if smart contracts are even viable. And
real quick, Baba, yeah, jumping in there. See that EOA? That's externally owned accounts, and then that slide I was talking about earlier. That's the Ethereum addressing system here. Yeah, so we can go into perhaps these other addressing methodologies. We could maybe ultimately say it's the secret and a public-private key pair, which is cryptography preceding even smart contracts. But yeah, that's so it's not just electronic signatures, but how much can a secret public-private key pairing in variety of forms be considered viable? Sorry, Bubba.
Okay.
Back to you. Yeah.
So I mean, the bottom line, if you're a student and you're interested in doing some research, then just contact me. My Instagram is Golden Age Guide here, and my Twitter is Lexlaunchpad. Lexlaunchpad is a house that I was able to make inside of the clinic for the entity that I'm working on. And basically in the crypto space, launching these tokens and launching these DAOs, the key word is Launchpad. So if anybody has Launchpad resources to help our clinic launch tokens, or anybody has any framework or anything they recommend that we're interested in figuring that out. And here's my info. You can contact me. I will now hand the floor over to Kyle Smith, who is going to give you the main professional and awesome what is legal engineering spiel. So thank you for your time and presence, and many blessings to all of you.
Thank you. That was very well done. I enjoyed myself, and hopefully the rest of you enjoyed Baba's presentation. So yeah, so what is legal engineering? It's law tech. So that's really a good starting point if you know what law tech is. But it's by lawyers. So well, we'll get more into it. Some of this is redacted, but I don't think we actually redacted too much. Next slide, please. So here's some projects that we're doing at X Labs. So Ixion is our law firm, but X Labs is a venture studio that we're starting out. And so that's where we do more on the engineering side of things. So there's some us at DevCon with some robots. The robots is where we're working on some standards to get people from going to having RPCs be as close as possible to REST calls. So REST developers can just start to use RPCs here and there. Then there's the kernel that I made, which is architecture structure, kind of like a framework, but going at it from a very different angle. Well, the angle of like a Linux kernel, but just for like JavaScript levels. And then there's also some work we're doing with the Ethereum Community Fund. So most of that is governance stuff, including Harbinger tax, which is which is a fascinating economic model, which we can model out on these world computers with real finance. And then I'll go on a little bit about ERC 7827 standard, and then the dynamic NFTs, which is that one over there, JSON state UX NFT. But yeah, if you want to learn more about these projects and many others, we cut out a couple slides getting into more of them. Just reach out to the clinic. We'll give you some call to actions at the end of the chat. And a lot of these are public, so permissionless. You can jump on them. They're run by open DAOs, and so yeah, please reach out. Next slide, please. So our argument is that just 2 legal engineers have already created over 20 trillion in wealth. So Charles Goldfarb and Nick Szabo. So let's next slide. So yeah, so this is the very first wave. I'd say Goldfarb is the beginning of it, and it is 1980s. I thought it was 70s, but it's actually 80s. And he took red line drafting techniques in legal negotiations, and then thought of markup language with that. So he was at IBM, but he has a JD in law from Harvard, and so it makes sense at Cambridge, Massachusetts, just by proximity, somebody would become skilled in both those disciplines, which this is allowed parsing for documents. So by him taking that idea of writing in the margins and such, that's how we got standard generalized markup language. And that eventually led to HTML when Tim Berners-Lee needed to talk to CERN and London, the scientists. So Berners-Lee made the compiler less fastidious. So that's a lesson also to us lawyers, that one of the ways to make this work is to not be so perfect and let some imperfections or some harms around the edges happen, so that at the speed of business things can get done. And then so Nick Szabo, he did smart contracts, and he realized that computer systems do the 3 elements of contracts, or do 2 of the 3 elements of contracts better than humans. Consensus ad idem, so that's meeting of the minds. Well, 2 computers that the compilers are interpreting in the same way, that's pretty much all the computers these days. That we've done amazing with standardizing computers. So if we give it a line of JavaScript in a browser on one computer, we can give it to a completely different computer halfway across the world, and we know it's going to interpret that in the same way. And then the other one, privity, similar. So there's not really going to be a computer that thinks it's involved in communications between 2 other computers. The network systems, they're all encrypted, so you can't eavesdrop and all that. So the privity is actually fairly built out better than traditional human interactions with each other. But then the consideration one, that's where programs didn't have any aspect to it. So a computer could just be running code all day long and never ask you for $1. If you give it $1, it doesn't care, like a horse. It's just like, this is nothing to me. So that's what smart contracts are, is adding consideration. And so in Ethereum, that's gas and all that. And so finally, we're able to have distributed systems, not on an engineering level, but on a social engineering level. And that's a really good way to think of law, like lawyers level of law. It's the software of society. And that's what Lord Lessig says. So that was critical, adding that extra constraint to programming language for us to be able to have these distributed world computers now. And then, yeah, just Stanford here, they're definitely leading the way. And I'm very impressed with the hackathons they do, especially the AI legal engineering hackathons, and their fellowship is very open. So I recommend reaching out to them. It's great that they're so inviting. All right, next. So here's a working definition of it. This is from a while ago, so we haven't really decided on a working or like a proper definition of legal engineering. The clinic is starting up the Journal of Legal Engineering, and we're working with well-known university to get that done. We'll announce more in the future, and then hopefully, that will help kind of give a stable definition of what legal engineering is. But we're thinking of an analogy, very, very proximate, I think, analogy with how history rhymes, of horse and buggy moving over to cars. So this was back in September. This was kind of our initial thought of it, but in blockchain time, September is an eon ago, so things have already developed very quick. Next slide. So here it is. So the horse and buggy, this is where law currently is. It's about at that speed if you think about it. It's at about at that cost as well. And so what legal engineers are doing is getting into the mechanized stage. So having ICE engines, that kind of stuff. And now what stage cars are getting in is the electronic stage and fully automated stage. And so law, yeah, we think will follow a similar path where we got to get to this middle stage. So oftentimes when people have these narratives, they jump to the third stage, but this middle stage is really important. And if we think about it, we no longer have to clean up stables, but we do have to figure out what freeways are. So everything's moving at hyperspeed. What are the structures that we need for hyperspeed? And then we can automate that hyperspeed. It's not like things have to be so sequential, but it can't be in full parallel, I don't believe. All right, next slide. So this is the next slide, please, Bubba.
Okay, that's what I was looking for when I said is mechanizing the law. That's the tagline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That is a good tagline. Yeah.
I think it's sexy. Just want to say.
All right, thanks for highlighting that. Yeah, so if you look at these images are kind of small, but in the top there, it shows how transport from horse and buggy era to now electric cars has gone down 99%. So it's incredibly deflationary. Whereas we look at law, it's gone up 160%. It's one of the worst inflationary offenders in the modern era. It's all information technology, so that I don't believe there's such an excuse. And my hope is lawyers uh, learn how to be proficient in programming language as well as other legalese languages such as English and that we're wordsmiths, and so that's critical. And we should be overjoyed that we finally have legalese that's quite precise, and definitely this environment wouldn't have happened but for lawyers who view the world that way. So we want to get law to deflationary. We think that will be a huge impact on society. There's really, other than communications and energy sectors, law is the only sector we can think of that is part of the cost for all other sectors. So lowering the cost of law then would lower the cost in all other sectors. All right, next slide. So here's some pain points about law. Governance, that's predominantly law. It's a third of GDP. So if we lower that, that'll be great. Oh, you can stay on that slide real quick. KYC is a bear, as well as the tax experience is pretty horrendous. And we could have a much better relationship with tax, and then we probably wouldn't be as angry at our government with current existing technology. We could have even have a delightful experience to some extent with taxation. Okay, next, that would be a totally different dynamic with our government if we did that. Okay, so first generation DAOs, they've already happened. So here's one that we've spent a lot of time on. It's one of the more sophisticated ones. It's Q. It's a whole blockchain. Next slide here. So Q pioneered the difference between deterministic and discretionary. Now, since then, Eigenlayer has gone on to a bit different of a perspective, objective and intersubjective. But deterministic is basically everything that's done with smart contracts or just programs in general, traditional programs, not AI statistical types. But yeah, discretionary is when it could be deterministic in theory, but just the amount of compute time needed in practice, it's discretionary. So you have to cut corners, use heuristics, and that's where humans are good, and AI is filling more and more of those roles. So when we think about a governance issue, we break it up into these component parts, and then what solution we use depends, on how we've categorized it here. Next slide. So this is Q's work quite a bit with the Liechtensteinian government to make sure that this is a distributed system, so there's no multi-sig that can change the source code. And in the US, that was discovered through litigation, that there was a multi-sig that could change the source code, and a DAO that was espoused to be distributed. But then with Q, it was through working with the Liechtensteinian regulators and then coming up with this root node service. And the Lex.Clinic is one of the root nodes that does this governance service. And so for the stuff that's not deterministic, that's discretionary, that's when our nodes step in. Next slide. So AVS, this is Eigenlayer and such. They're underwriting Oracle information, so stuff that's not on blockchain. So they think of it as, if it's on blockchain, it's objective. If it's outside of blockchain, then it's intersubjective. Because I'm basing everything on JSON, and I'm thinking of really there's interdata, and then there's objective or subjective interdata, and that's because of that 7827 standard. All right, next one though. All right, yeah. Okay, so this is next generation DAO. So Lex.Clinic is one of these next generation DAOs. Woohoo! So the strategy we're doing is we're using hats, and one of the things hats lets us do is Baba was saying that his DAO is a sub DAO of sorts, but it's its own house, and so it can fork away fairly easily, and hopefully a type of fork that we're calling a joy fork, and it's all because of how Hatch has done the Unix philosophy of modularity. So for DAOs, modularity is what role is that person playing, and then with us as legal engineers, we come in and we've experimented with it in operating agreements and in practice, and people that need to have certain competencies and deliverables. And we're realizing that it's helpful to center this around the legal agreements, because that's usually when roles are people have made promises, and if they break a role, that they're in breach of it and all that. So we're doing this. It's working out quite well, and that's a way that we can break off a module and or a few modules, whatever we want, have that kind of fluidity that Linux the new Linux developers enjoy. All right, next one. So here's an example of how that works. So this is the legalese, but then there's also unlock a payment system that's all on chain. And then I see a lot of questions here, so we're going to move fast, see if we can get to questions at the end. Sorry, everyone. Or you can jump in the clinic, our wiki, and ask these questions later. But wait, real quick, back to that, Baba. So another thing I wanted to say is that we can also multi-chain these different hats. So the really cool thing from a lawyer perspective is, say, some amendment, the Fifth Amendment out of 10 amendments, somebody breaches it, and that cascades and means all the other parts of the agreements are breached. And so say people lose access to control systems, something like that. That'll all happen automatically in this structure, because we're able to tie these mechanisms together. So we're thinking it's a pretty good fit, but this is super early days. Okay, next. And so cool thing though, like Q, because it's a DAO, we're working within the DAO, and we're also then getting tokens within the DAO, and so it's a nice self-referencing system where the people who are improving the DAO can then also direct the DAO and then get more funds, then have more persuasive power, or more voting power to and social power. But anyways, it's pretty great. Next. Okay, so now this is the very cutting edge. So this is DeFi. I mean, last year we just thought about having AI be legal entities, and now there's a whole area of finance that's AI running legal entities because of DAO LLCs, as well as Duna, which is a distributed unincorporated nonprofit association. These can have managers run via code, machine code, which is AI stuff, or probably not AI stuff. It's not. Well, let's do the next slide. There's a good slide to kind of explain why AI is. There we go. So this slide. So this is a paper that was done this summer, and already it seems like it's ancient history because of how fast everything moves. But this very clearly shows what the AI agents do. I like to think of a taxi example. They can make it more concrete. So the AI agent is who you chat with to get the taxi booked, but then the smart contract, you put your money in, and then goes to escrow and smart contract that has a GPS subjective interdata, and then the car drives with you to the point that you agreed on, and then the GPS says, okay, yeah, it's here, and the escrow is released. So it's a combination, but all the finance stuff, that's smart contract still. And then one of the reasons I want these AI these agentic AI to be legal persons is that, to me, it's going to be a lot easier if we've got a person driving a car, then we can just deal with tort if they hit someone else, something like that. Then if we have this AI agent that's not considered a person in this car that's driverless, how we're going to deal with tort? Something we have these indirect torts for direct harms. So that's the reason I thought AI agents were a good idea, but it's actually DeFi. So making good money is the main driver, of course. So next slide, Baba. Oh, I think you're on mute, Baba.
What's a tort for the lay people?
Pardon?
A tort.
Oh, a tort? Yes, a tort is a legal relationship between parties that isn't created by contract. That's based on equitability. So if I accidentally hit you with my car, that's a tort. So we haven't signed a contract, so we don't have a legal relationship, but we do now because it's wrong to hit someone and not pay them back. Yeah.
There's a legal remedy for the person that got hit potentially.
Even though you didn't sign an agreement with them. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And it doesn't come out of it comes out of case law. It doesn't come out of legislation. But a lot of modern torts, like contract law, there's UCC now, right? So a lot of this stuff has been encoded. And actually, here in Honduras, we won't really get into the jurisdiction, but some there's some really amazing legal thought leaders in this country, and their thought is that having special economic zones do common law, and then having the wider legal environment be civil law is the most efficient. So we can do the common law experimentation where the civil law,
Wow.
conciseness and consolidation. And there's I don't know what the citation is, but common law jurisdictions do enjoy a faster GDP, which it's not much, but it compounds each year, and it does explain some international dynamics. But again, we can create composites of common and civil, and most common law are already that composite. So it's more the civil nations, I would say, learning from common at this point. But obviously, I'm a common person with that comment. Okay, so here's an example of this AI, this next gen AI, or pardon me, next gen DAO. So this next gen DAO is I'm talking to an AI agent. It's Cloud Chat GPT Cloud, and I am but it's running on chain. It's running smart contracts. So I've got a smart wallet that it manages for me, and then I can make transactions through this AI agent. So here I say, can you make a bounty for me? And the AI agent says, no, that's not what I do. And then so next slide. So then I say, but I really want to have a bounty. So I'm then pushing around, and it says, okay, well, you can do these kind of things. And I say, okay, well, here's what I want the bounty for. And it's this 7827 standard. So it's having JSON be a smart contract type. And to me, that opens up to the crosses the chasm into the pragmatic developers, all those JavaScript developers, such as, to me, it's a big deal, this standard. And so I believe that just what I write at ETH Magicians is going to have persuasive power. So indeed, this AI reads it. And next slide.
So what's
Yep.
an ERC 7827?
It's Ethereum. I can't. ERC stands for, again, recommendation, or it's the common request for proposal. Request for comment. There we go. Ethereum request for comment. That's what it is. So it's the what IEEE, I think, pioneered as a standard system. It's just with that Ethereum flavor, and then because it's Ethereum, it's also Ethereum Magicians. So, but yeah, if you go to that link, or just chat to us in the wiki to find that link, you can learn more about that, and the cat herders, Ethereum cat herders, and it's an interesting standard environment, but a little bit beyond the scope here. So next slide. So then this AI agrees with me, so that's pretty cool. When we think about middle managers, it will be these MVs that are gatekeeping us, and so this says, okay, I think it's great. Next slide. So I say, no, you don't fully get it, but that's okay. And then here's all the different tasks I want done. So it's going to make the bounty for me. So here's all the different tasks, and then it says, okay, well, let's do the bounty for the first task. Next slide. Then I say, okay, but can you price it out for me? And so that's pretty important for me as well, is especially running a charity, and the clinic is on its way to be a charitable organization. So it's not yet, but soon, when you donate to the clinic, it will be a U.S. tax write-off. Fingers crossed. But yeah, so this is really great, I think, in the long run, that charitable organizations can move fast, because if the AI has those actual market standards, then it can be properly not for profit, and supposedly be much clearer evidence to the IRS and such that it really is market standards. And that's a comment, by the way, that non-profit to me is actually unethical. It's important to recognize that these things are not for profits for a reason, because people still have to pay their rent. Yeah, sometimes people volunteer and put themselves into difficult situations. Okay, next slide. This one is, so then, the AI. I think next one. I'm thinking about back. Next one after that. So it gives me the price, 3K for this job, for the ERC standard for a pull request. I think it's a bit high, but yeah, next slide. This is the experiment here. And so, so here we go. I say agree. So then next slide. This is the bounty. And then I say, do you need me to sign anything? And so just like those other DAOs, because I've been participating in the DAO, I also have partial ownership in the DAO with these staked tokens for the DAO. And then so, I do have to sign with the staked. And the next slide. Oh, I think you might have hit the link.
Hmm.
So we can go back to the slides. Is that the slide?
Hold on. I don't know. I don't get it.
Well, I think one of the tabs should be your the slideshow.
Damn. Here.
Okay. Yeah, here we go. Okay, this is a slideshow. Yeah. So then here it is. So here's the proposal that it made, and you can see that I've also voted yes. So this was all orchestrated through the AI agent, but it was running on a blockchain,
Hmm.
similar to Hyperledger. So for yeah the audience out here, these are the kind of experiments you could do, and DeFi, not DEFI, but DEF AI, but playing off the other one, is there's a lot going on. So there's AI 16Z already, and just jump on X and or Warpcast and those areas where I'm getting a lot of quick alpha. But this is just moving at lightning speed. And the cool thing about Nani is it's using that Wyoming DUNA legal entity, so it's also experimenting on the legal engineering side. Ross Campbell, who's behind this, is one of the best legal engineers in the world. Okay, next slide.
Oh, God dog it.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so this is uh, what it looks like, the front end. So it's playing, this front end is kind of fun. It's if anyone's played around with Windows 93, I think it's a fork of that, but it's yeah a DOM, document object model, or HTML simulation of Windows 98, and this is how we kind of experience this AI DAO. So it's really cutting edge. Next slide. And that's it. Okay, so these are call to actions. And Baba, maybe you can take over. But I guess the main thing is if you just go to Lex.Clinic, or if you go to our link tree here, but the link tree will be on Lex.Clinic or the link tree, which is just Lex.Clinic. So linktree/Lex.Clinic, but Lex.Clinic. Then there'll be links, and they'll tell you how to join our wiki. Yeah, that HATS protocol that I showed before, that right here is how you actually join our clinic, our legal clinic. Lex.Clinic is you just join public, so you agree to a waiver for some. It's good to read that waiver as well because it's thinking about liabilities that have yet to exist, and that's it. Then you'll join our wiki and we can have chats. And then if you want to become a patron, it's just $50, and then it goes to a very good cause. So with that, back to you, Baba. And we only have a minute, so I don't think we have time for questions. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah, yeah. The reason you would want to become a patron would be if you were like in my situation and had a Web3 type project with a token and you need legal help, but it's ridiculous how much legal help you need. Then maybe we have some resources to help save you some money.
Yeah, we've helped a few DAOs become charities, 501(c)(3) U.S. charities. I think we've helped 5 or 6, and we work with a very acclaimed law firm. But the easiest step is just to join our public channel if you want to learn more about all the different offerings. And we're now in beta stage and we're growing out quick. So there will be quite a few new ones that aren't even yet available. But we'd love to have you join our community and grow it.
Yeah, and students, if you're a student, you can contact me and we'll airdrop your hat NFT for access to the clinic to do some research. But yeah, so I mean, I'm sure we could maybe answer some of these questions.
Well, well, David, what do you think?
Yeah,
Um,
that's good. We should ask him.
I can stay on a little bit longer if people do want to stay on. And
If there are
but
questions,
yeah,
you can keep the room.
okay.
Okay.
So yeah, people can. Baba, do you mind if people just go off mic and
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so Rishi wants to know if the meeting is being recorded. We could put a copy of slides in the thing. Yes, I'll put the link to the slides in the meetup. Jeff says, I'm making an assumption the legal content of a contract is written in the smart contract in a language such as Solidity, not in JSON.
Yeah,
So,
so JSON is too loosey-goosey, like kind of like HTML is too loosey-goosey. So yeah, and also XML is considered a legal language, and that to me is why it hasn't had so much traction because really for these, if you're sending billions of dollars and such, you want to make sure that it's there's no double transacting, all these uh, um, uh, problem areas that Solidity or JavaScript is not built for. So I use JavaScript as much as possible, and that's where I'm a bit different than other developers. So I think we definitely can do a lot of, and like Polkadot is an example of a chain that has basically like applet environment, and there's Wasm that DAO Jake there he's really pushing that. So yeah, then we can use more languages, but at the end it's Rust or Solidity or Viper, which is a Python type. But yeah, I mean Haskell for like that's what the Codex people spend a lot of time on. So it depends on the particular application, but hardly ever JavaScript because it's too the garbage collection is all that kind of stuff. It's just meant for a different application. Again, I love it and I use it regularly, but um, languages for the purpose. Okay, back to you, Baba. Yeah, no worries.
okay. So Jim White asked, what is SWI in this diagram? Formerly Libre, and gave me the link to a site. I don't see a diagram.
I read a little bit there, and it's proof of stake,
Okay.
and I'm a fan because even though I'm pretty um, have done very little in the Web3 area, but what I find interesting is it's a delegated blockchain, so it doesn't have the capacity problems we have with Ethereum and other single um, block schemes.
Yeah, so that's cool if
I
it's
have a
proof of
ton of other
stake with
questions
really high
about
throughbut. Yeah,
uh,
yeah, more
yeah,
questions.
yeah, because it's far too much to do here. I'll have to follow these things with the link tree and stuff like this. But because I'm interested in yeah, how to set up a DAO and operate a DAO for open source projects, and so I'm learning. So yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what we talk about in the clinic. So feel free to join our wiki, and there's a forum in there as well. So it's a chat room. There's a Telegram group also if you just want to get oriented. And the Charmverse wiki is kind of confusing, but yeah, looking forward to chatting with you more about your setting up a DAO, open source DAO.
Cool.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so Storm said in layman's terms, is this coding to help lawyers work more efficiently?
Um, I think to me that's it's better to focus on the costs. So many of us were priced out of uh, legal solutions that we don't even know that there's all these solutions out there that can really benefit our lives. So that's what I want is that people have family trusts that cost them $5 to set up, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. It's
Well,
about us.
at
It's not
least
about the
10
lawyers.
bucks.
Yeah.
At least
At least
10
$10.
bucks.
Okay.
And we can call that digital estates, which is coming if it's not already here.
Mhm.
So yeah. So then Arishi asked, maybe more effectively execution of contract not dependent on intermediaries, automation as described in the presentation.
Yeah, so I was chatting with a Bitcoin person who I believe has a patentable subject matter just a couple days ago at a bar here in Honduras with yeah solutions that you're discussing there. So people are thinking about more pure peer-to-peer systems. I personally believe that we'll have a combination of multiple systems, including full AWS server farm. So um, it's 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 a whole blue ocean out there, and we've got many
Yeah.
different animals that have yet to evolve to fill niches.
Yep, if anybody has any more questions, I put my email in the chat. Contact me. Let's connect. Thank you for attending this class. This is actually our first time to do event with Linux and the clinic, and it was a lot of fun. And thank God it landed on Martin Luther King Day, because I would have had class today. Thank you, God. But, all right, everybody. Thank you. If you have any questions, please email me or drop it in real quick.
I was going to say, Kyle, so that's Honduras, so that's not a fake background.
It's not. No, it's actually hunters. Yeah, alive. Yeah,
Awesome.
it's not bad. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, all.